Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today let's make some vellum flowers with the Mica watercolour paints. As you can see, I've got my paints out and I've already die cut some vellum flowers and some little bees and some little stamens, and I'm just going to use a water brush and I'm going to paint layers on the little bee first. I'm going to give him another little coat, and then I'm going to start with the yellow, very technical, and I'm going to do a little stamen. And as you will see, this is very professional technique, super professional. Just get out a water brush and slap it on. Could be simpler. I do use the tweezers here because it helps just hold the little vellum flower down. And I'm going to mop up what I got on the desk. And then start painting very technically the little flowers. And you will see that I do some awesome blending by doing smooshy type thing. I like stipply, smooshy, very technical, highly technical. If you've come here looking for professional watercolouring, you've come to the wrong place. This is not the place for you. This is absolutely not professional. This is just showing you that your Mica watercolour paints will absolutely work on vellum. And I do one layer and then I come back with a couple of other layers because you can build up. It doesn't have to just stay as translucent. It won't go completely opaque, but it does give it does hold a really good lot of colour, the vellum. So again, with my highly technical sprucing technique of blending, and I don't know why I did that because I'm going to layer these, so you're not even going to see the middle part, which is, you know, again, professional is not the place to be. You're not a professional watercolourist by any means. But as you can see, I've missed bits, so I go back. But these are brilliant. If you do make these with the first video that I showed, the vellum takes watercolour so well. And if you spray your watercolours first and leave them for a few minutes just to bed in, they become almost thicker. So you're not putting very much water on the vellum, so it doesn't wrinkle as much. And as you can see, the very technical use of a paper towel to clean off the brush before I change to a different colour, so as to not contaminate the paints. Although, as you can probably see from my paint palette, I don't really stick to that rule at all, because again, this is not professional. This is just showing you what to do. Or what I do. This is showing you what I do, not what I do. You probably are so much better than I'll ever be at this, but this is basically just showing you that watercolour paints, if you're using the Mica ones that you made, you can absolutely colour vellum and make some really pretty little flowers. And I do show you at the end of the video how to make these flowers into a different shape. So depending on how you colour the petals, you can make one die set look like many different little flowers just by colouring the petals in a different way. And I do use some nail art tools for that, and I do use the little silicone spatula on the end to help glue them down onto the tape. As you can see, I professionally painted, and this blue is stunning, and I just wanted to show you just how striking this blue is on the vellum. I missed a little bit on one of my little flowers, so I had to go back and make this extra petal because there's a little space that there you go, there's a little empty space, a little gap, and that's what it looks like when it dries. And I curled the little daisy-like petals underneath, and you see in one of the other ones where I curl them to the side to make them spiky, to make a completely different shape flower. So please do give these a go. And as you can see with this one, I kind of do subtle. I just paint the centres of these little flowers and leave the white vellum on the edge of the petals just plain white. I don't mess with it so much. This is my attempt at doing subtle. I'm not known for that. I have a heavy hand. I'm not known for subtle. And I go back to the little wee top one and I just be like, this needs more colour. But it's just the centre, it's just the centre. And it does dry a little bit less bright, but still giving an amazing pop of colour. Yeah, I could have just left that pale, but no, this is me, I can't do that. I need more colour in my life. So that's what I did with my highly technical, stipply, painty, stipply, smooshy technique. Professional is not here. Professional has left the building. But a little pair of tweezers will help. Just hold it down on your glass mat. And as you can see, I'm coming back in with another layer of the yellow around the edges and the gold, because I want this to have a little bit more of a pop of colour on the edges. So you can come back in and you can layer as many times as you want to get the density of colour that you want on your little vellum flowers. You don't need to just leave it at one layer, because I certainly did not do that. As you can see, I've gone back around this little daisy type one, which I think I turn into some kind of spiky little flower. I'm no use with flower names. I don't know. But depending on how you roll the little petals, you can create an array of different flower shapes from one die set. And these are miscellaneous dies that I've had in my stash. I'm sure everyone has flower dies from somewhere along the way, from either a craft magazine, craft kits, or you pick them up in die sets. Everyone, I'm sure, has flowers, florals of some description that you can cut out little shapes and paint them with your mica. So get your bits out. These are beautiful. I made my wreath. I think I showed it yesterday in my video what I was going to be doing with it. I made a little wreath, but these would be beautiful if you put a little bit of foam tape on the back, or just a little red liner tape on the back, and put them onto cards, onto ATCs, onto home decor. You know, they don't have to just be like this little wreath thing that I make. You could make these for like just any embellishment that you use at all. If you even wanted to, you could, if you make it like the spiky ones that I make, you could put a little magnet on the back and make it into a little magnet. There's no reason why, you know, you just have to make an embellishment for a card. Your craft supplies can be used and utilised in so many different ways. Just think outside the box. What else could you make with them? You know, you don't just have to stick to what the die set tells you that you should do. Creativity has no bounds. And I'm back. This is how I curl this little one on the petals underneath. With the vellum, now I have ripped petals off before. Hands up, I absolutely have, because I'm heavy-handed. With the heat of your hand and with your little ball tool, or as I'm using a little nail tool, be firm but gentle. You don't need very much pressure, and the heat of your hand will do a lot of the work for you. So just be careful, but you don't need to be super delicate with the vellum. Just give it a go and see how much pressure you need, because I have pulled petals off before. I absolutely have pulled petals off. But you can stick them back on the back. I have done some doctoring by putting a little bit of red liner tape on the back and stuck the petals in, and no one's none the wiser. No one knows. But vellum is quite forgiving, and it is quite tough, but you can absolutely rip petals off. Depends on your die set, but just be firm, be gentle, and use the heat of your hand. And then you can twist and push, and it's malleable. It is very good. It does take a good shape. It does hold its shape quite well, because it is a firmer material. And as I say, I just use some red liner tape, and I stick the little bits together, and I layer them. And as I say, you could even put a little bit of foam tape on the back and make it into an embellishment in that way to make it more dimensional. You could add glitter to the centre. You could add glitter paint to the centre. You could add glitter paint to these. They don't just have to be your mica. And I use my little ball tool to help take off the little red liner tape. That stuff is, oh, it's abysmal. I have fought with that so many times. And then to squish it down, I use the little silicone spatula bit at the end. And there we go. Now this is this shape, as you see, it's only just 2 layers, and I've just turned the little petals downward. I'm going to show you a different way of making this same die set look like a completely different flower. And there we go, that's exactly the same die set. I've just curled the petals in a different way, painted them in a different colour, and added an extra layer. Instead of just 2, there's 3. And it looks like a completely different flower, and it has a different little centre. And they look completely different. From one die set you can make many different flower styles. You don't just have to stick with making them completely flat or just one way. This is a little daisy set of 3 different sizes of daisies, and as you see here, I've curled one under and I have curled one on the petal edges itself to make it spiky or to make it fluffy. It just goes to show one die set how you can make different little flowers by the different ways you use your little tool. I will go into detail because this doesn't seem like you can see very much here, so I will show you in a second how I created a yellow version of this little spiky one. But yeah, using a different centerpiece, using a different little stamen, cutting it a different way, you can create so many different flowers and so many different colours. I mean, go to town. You don't just have to stick with the same colours that I've used, or the same mica paints, depending on what colour micas you have. Have at it. Please give this a go. This is so easy to do, and it doesn't take very long. And as I say, it just depends on how you want to colour your little petal leaves, that it will create different styles. And this one has got like 3 different size layers of flower petals to make a different dimension. And in this one, I made it kind of like I think it's like a cornflower type. So one side, the little daisy petals are facing down, and then I have the top layer facing up to give that little extra bit of dimension. So it's a different type of flower, different shape, but using the same little daisy die set. And then I obviously cut out some little beads, and I had to paint some of those in the gold. So this is how I did the little spiky one. As you can see, I just put the petals in and then give it a little twist. And this will show just how to create a different shape and different dimension to your little flowers. So it doesn't have to be just flat, or it doesn't have to be just curled in one way. And I do the same with all 3 layers, and then the top layer I think I just leave flat. Yeah, and then you can use your nails, do little spikies. As I say, this vellum is really good. It's very malleable and it doesn't take very much pressure at all, but just be careful because you can't pull petals off, because I have done that. I'm not really known for having a delicate touch either, but these are so quick, so easy, and in an afternoon I made an absolute batch ton of these. Like, I've made loads of them, and you just layer them up as you would. But I use the red liner tape in the centre of these because with glue and vellum it takes a long time for it to catch and to stay, and with the red liner tape it's instant grab and they are instantly dimensional. And I really like making these, and I made loads of them. So please do give this a go. I would love to see what you do with your die sets. If you've ever thought of making your flowers a completely different shape, have you ever thought of doing this? Thanks very much for watching. If you find any other ways of doing flowers, of making them dimensional, please leave me a comment. Get your bits out. Bye.